Alright, picture this. You sit down, you grab your controller, you think you're about to play a chill indie platformer, and 20 minutes later you're emotionally compromised, staring at the screen like it personally betrayed you. Today we're talking about Neva, the game made from the same people who already emotionally destroyed us once with GRIS. And yes, they absolutely did it again. Maybe even harder. Neva is an emotionally charged action, adventure, and platformer developed by Nomada Studio, the Barcelona-based indie studio behind GRIS. If you played GRIS, you already know the vibe. If you did not, imagine a game that speaks almost entirely through visuals, animation, and music, and somehow still says more than most games with full voice acting. In Neva, you play as Alba, a young woman who forms a lifelong bond with a wolf cub after a traumatic encounter with dark, corrupted forces. The world around them is slowly dying, decaying piece by piece. From the very beginning, Neva establishes its core idea. This is a journey about connection, protection, and growth. Alba and the wolf start off fragile and uncertain. And as you move through the game, that relationship evolves. The wolf grows from a rebellious cub into a powerful adult. And that growth is not just narrative flavor. It directly affects gameplay. This is important because Neva is not just telling a story about change. It is making you play through it. Gameplay-wise, Neva expands on what GRIS did. While GRIS focused mostly on light platforming and environmental puzzles, Neva introduces combat, more complex traversal and actual failure states. And yes, you can die this time. Nomada Studio clearly remembered that a lot of people played GRIS as one of their first games ever. So Neva includes the story mode that removes most of the frustration. You can experience the narrative without being punished for not mastering combat mechanics, which is honestly a great design choice. The structure of the game mixes platforming, light puzzles, combat encounters, and exploration, all wrapped in a very cinematic presentation. The levels are tightly designed and constantly evolving. As the wolf grows, new mechanics are introduced, and the game avoids repeating the same ideas too often. Each section feels like it has its own purpose, both mechanically and emotionally. Technically speaking, Neva is built in Unity and there is a lot more going on compared to GRIS. More detailed scenes, heavier use of parallax, more layered animations, and more complex interactions between characters. It's impossible not to look at this and think, okay, someone spent an unhealthy amount of time polishing this, and it shows. Nomada Studio is a Barcelona-based indie studio that made a massive impact with their first game, GRIS. When GRIS released, it was critically acclaimed and emotionally resonated with a huge audience, including many people who were not traditional gamers. That success came with expectations. And Neva exists very much in the shadow of that success. According to interviews, the team approached Neva with a clear mindset. They wanted to keep the dedication to animation and art that defined GRIS, but they also wanted to grow. Neva is fundamentally a game about motherhood, about care, fear, and the cycle of life. You start by protecting the wolf, and over time, the role shifts. That theme drives everything, from mechanics to level design. The team was very intentional about evolving their art style. They did not want to repeat watercolor aesthetics, so they developed a new visual language with stricter rules. Things like limited color palettes and defined outlines. Technically, Neva is far more complex than GRIS. More detailed scenes, more parallax layers, more interactive systems, and the addition of combat required a big leap in production complexity. The team openly talked about how scary it was to implement combat for the first time, especially knowing how easy it is for combat to feel repetitive, or unsatisfying. One interesting design choice is how progression works. Alba does not really change mechanically. Neva does. As the wolf grows, new abilities emerge, and the game constantly ties new mechanics to that growth. Levels are designed around these stages, ensuring that gameplay evolution always feels narratively justified. The game also wears its inspirations proudly. Studio Ghibli, especially Princess Mononoke, is a clear influence. And so is anime in general when it comes to animation and combat flow. Even the enemy designs feel symbolic rather than literal, representing threats that any parent might fear, from environmental destruction to war. The developers intentionally left these interpretations open, allowing players to project their own experiences onto the story. Despite the pressure of following up a massive success, the team stayed focused on making a game they personally believed in. They acknowledge that you cannot please everyone, and that expectation itself can be paralyzing. In the end, they made the game they wanted to make, just like they did with GRIS, and that honestly shows. This game has everything I personally love. It is a platformer, so I was already halfway sold before I even pressed start. But what really surprised me was how well Neva balances its storytelling. It never feels too heavy, but it never feels vague. The emotional pacing is excellent. Visually, the game is stunning. Every single scene feels handcrafted, and it actually is. The art direction leans into a hand-drawn style, but without relying heavily on watercolor textures like GRIS did. Instead, Neva uses stronger outlines, more defined shapes, and a slightly more grounded visual language. The result is a world that feels richer and more detailed, but still Nomada style. I really cannot count how many times I stopped moving just to look at the background. The lighting, the color transitions, the subtle environmental effects, it all comes together beautifully. There were multiple moments where I caught myself thinking, I really wish my own project looked like this. The animation work deserves special praise. The wolf, in particular, feels alive. Its movements change as it grows. Its behavior evolves. There is clearly a lot of animation logic and state management happening under the hood. Considering that one of the programmers worked on Assassin's Creed and brought real knowledge about animal movement, it makes sense. This is not just a character following you. It is a character reacting to the world. Gameplay difficulty also hits a really nice sweet spot. It is not brutally punishing like Celeste, but it is not a walking simulator either. Combat encounters keep you alert, and mistakes matter, but they rarely feel unfair. I also really appreciate how the mechanics evolve with Neva herself, not with Alba. The progression is tied to the wolf's growth, which reinforces the theme of parenthood and care. You start by protecting her, and later she starts protecting you. That is not just clever storytelling, that is smart system design. Neva is good for players who want an emotional experience. It is good for people who enjoy platformers that care about atmosphere as much as mechanics. It is good for casual gamers who want something beautiful and meaningful. If you loved GRIS, Neva feels like a natural evolution. If you did not play GRIS, Neva still stands strong on its own. It is a game about growth, fear, love, and letting go, wrapped in one of the most polished indie experiences in recent years. If you've played the game already, let me know what you think in the comments. And like always, thanks for watching.